Thank you all for joining us for today's webcast, Why You Should Make Dynamic CRM Social, presented by Jeff Bennett and Kathy Dean. My name is Meredith Mead, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for Neudesic and the moderator for today's webcast. This webcast is presented by Jeff Bennett, Neudesic's Regional Sales Architect, and Kathy Dean, Microsoft's Southern Californian Specialist for the Dynamic CRM practice. There was a brief intro earlier regarding features within Live Meeting. To briefly recap, we encourage you to ask questions throughout the session by typing them in. To ask a question, click on the Q&A verbiage located in the toolbar on the top left side of your screen. Type your question, then click the Ask button. Please note all questions will be held until the end. We will also be using the scene chart feature within Live Meeting. Changing your feedback color within this tool provides feedback to the presenter. To provide feedback, click on the feedback menu found in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Select your feedback color. Your seat in the conference center will display your selected color. Lastly, this webcast is being recorded. We will be sending out a link to view the recording once it becomes available. If everyone is ready, please make sure your seat color is green. And at this time, I'd like to turn our presentation over to Jeff and Kathy.
Thanks, Meredith. I think what we want to accomplish today is a couple of things. So let's go ahead and go through the agenda. On this call, we're going to cover some of the trends that we're seeing with social CRM and one of the features that could be used today with a Microsoft CRM product provided by the Neudesic team. The trends that we're seeing obviously are impacting all of us in the marketplace and how we communicate, collaborate, not only with our customers, but internally in the enterprise. And one of those ways that we can do that is with the Pulse application. We'll talk about how Microsoft CRM 2011 has features built into it to enable the concepts around social media and how Neudesic Pulse will actually complement that. And Jeff is going to go ahead and talk about the features on Neudesic Pulse, including some use cases and a demonstration. So what are the trends that we're seeing in this concept area of social media? There's a couple of different ones. You can see three primary points here on the slide. One is we're all being impacted by the concept of social media. And in fact, what's happening is that most enterprises, you see, over 80% are using some aspect of social media data context to begin to manage their business and how they interact. And that's a combination of how they interact with their customers and target them and provide service to them and follow up with them on things like opportunities and leads, but also how they interact internally within their organization. And Neudesic Pulse is a great way to actually leverage internal social media to do that. So the aspect of doing social media with your customers helps you grow your business, helps you maintain your business and improve customer relations. But using that same information to leveraging your own internal valuable resources is a way to leverage the social aspects of the features that we're going to talk about today. So as you're working with customer relationship data like leads, opportunities, for example, you can comment, you can leverage that within your organization, you can find new resources, expertise, leverage those SMEs or subject matter experts to collaborate on opportunities, and using a social media type or enterprise Facebook-like type function within your organizations. Most importantly also is how you get that information and harness it with your organization has to be anywhere. So it has to be within the office, it has to be on mobile devices, it has to be accessible, and that's also that value-added benefit that we're going to talk about today. Microsoft CRM has introduced a lot of features in our most recent release, launched in January 2011, to accommodate social media. We've done it through a combination of factors, including how we interact with email, for example, we introduced the social media connector with an Outlook that's free and downloadable to leverage relationships like LinkedIn relationships and Facebook. The actual CRM application also has introduced features including real-time social dashboards, configurable relationships. So this goes to how I manage relationships, of course, with the customer. And I can do this, deploy these solutions both on-premise as well as in the cloud in a software as a service model. The value of social media here is a combination of, again, facing with the customer, as well as what we'll talk about next, how we take social media features and expand upon them for internal use cases using the Neudesic Pulse application. I'll now turn it over to Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. I assume it's good morning, unless we have some East Coasters, in which case, good afternoon to you. My name is Jeff Bennett. I'm a regional sales architect for the Neudesic Dynamics CRM practice, which is to say that my focus is on understanding what our customers are interested in and mapping those needs, those business objectives directly into Dynamics CRM. But it's Pulse that really has enabled Neudesic's Dynamics CRM practice to reach out to a whole new set of users. So rather than just thinking of Dynamics CRM as a tool which is used by salespeople and service people and operations folks to conduct the business of a business, if you will, Pulse and CRM together adds a whole new element of social collaboration, of elements of a business's operation that can now be interchanged between Pulse and Dynamics CRM. And it's a very exciting time, and it's clear that the combination offers something really unique and powerful to the market. So I want to take, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Or I can do that. Oh. And talk a little bit about what are the benefits of making CRM social. Now, we tend to think of CRM systems at a company as, for example, something that salespeople go into to update their sales leads and opportunities, to log activities. We think of CRM as something that service people go into to log service cases and to manage the activity around keeping a customer happy. But when we begin to talk about how an organization actually works together to sell and service their customers, along with other complex areas of their business, we realize that there's a real social element to it. And that social element, in a lot of ways, has been handled through phone calls, through face-to-face conversations, through meetings. The way that a business goes about socializing, how they improve selling and service and operations, is something that's not often captured in Dynamics CRM or, in all honesty, in any system. And so the thing that Neudesic Pulse does is really adds a layer of true social collaboration, and not just around the typical means of letting users discuss various things that are happening in the company, but along with things like microblogs and questions and answers and specific pages for discussion around whatever it may be, whether it's a specific customer or a specific issue around customers in general or specific products. Suddenly there's a layer of social collaboration that enables salespeople and operations folks in a company to collaborate together. And the combination is incredibly powerful, and something that we're finding not only makes Dynamics CRM more valuable to an organization, but as well Pulse itself. So let's take a step back and just kind of quickly talk about what is Pulse? I know that some of you on the call may be new to what exactly Pulse is, and that's a good place to start. So Pulse is an enterprise social software that adds social features to any business system. So first and foremost, if you think about what Facebook has done for our culture, for the world, in the sense of enabling people to quickly log in and in literally 30 to 60 seconds get a quick sense of what their friends and family are up to and be able to log off, or maybe even spend quite a bit of time socializing with friends and family in a way that they could never do. Pulse fundamentally, and this is in truth kind of how I look at it, is the same thing but in a business sense. This enables all different kinds of employees of an organization and partners and influencers and customers as well, potentially, to log in and get a quick sense of what's going on. What is the heartbeat? What is the pulse, if you will, of a business at a given particular time? And a lot of that obviously is going to be conversations around different issues, whether it's strategic or in often cases very tactical. What's going on with this particular sales pursuit? What's going on with this particular customer issue? As well, how are we going to address the next quarter? How are we going to address the challenges that we find that we're facing? Pulse, from its very origination, was truly designed to begin to affect and empower these kinds of discussions. So elements of real-time collaboration, business system integration, expert identification, these are key pieces of Pulse that fit into the features that it offers to organizations. So here's where I get excited, which is when we combine Dynamic CRM and Pulse together, and suddenly we're off to the races and good things are happening. So if we think about a fictional sales rep, Kathy Myers, and this is critical, this is key. What's Kathy? What's her experience like? Well, it's pretty ubiquitous, right? So salespeople are generally salespeople. She's on the road every other week. CRM is her account lifeline. So she needs to find out information about account. She needs to know what's going on. She's going into CRM. But the problem that many CRM systems have is that CRM isn't necessarily tied into the rest of the organization. Now, one of the interesting things that you'll see from other CRM providers today is that they're beginning to add a collaboration element with other CRM users. And what I find interesting about that is that it's rather short-sighted. So in an organization, it's likely to be the case that only a minority of people are actually going to use their CRM system, so the sales staff, the service staff. There's quite often many people in enterprises that don't necessarily go into Dynamic CRM on a day-to-day basis. So how does Kathy interact with them, especially when it comes to her accounts, to her opportunities that she's working? This is what Kathy cares about, and this is what she wants to focus on when she goes into CRM and when she's interacting with her organization. So in terms of how does Pulse address Kathy's issues? Well, first and foremost, it's going to enable Kathy to quickly collaborate with people. Now, I think you guys can all think of specific use cases around this in regards to a salesperson wanting to find out, hey, did that question that my customer just asked, did it get answered? My customer or this prospect just asked a key question. I've got to answer this immediately. How can I quickly collaborate with my organization to get that question answered? I need to have a conversation about a particular opportunity with my boss because we're 95% on the way to close that opportunity. I need to have that quickly. I need to collaborate with other people. Typically, CRM systems are not necessarily going to be focused around those kinds of quick use cases. And Kathy's going to be looking at using email, using the phone to carry those things out, which, let's be honest, does a decent job because we're used to using those technologies. But the problem is that, one, none of that information is actually captured. Two, whether she is able to quickly get her exigent issue resolved with those technologies can be slow. And so Pulse, together with Dynamic CRM, offers Kathy a whole new set of capabilities in being able to interact with not just her sales information, her account information, but with the rest of the organization, which is supporting her to close deals, which is Kathy's raison d'etre. That's why she's there and what she's doing, what she's doing. So, rather than me talking to a bunch of slides and blabbering on, I want to actually give you a look at what we're talking about. And I think I want to kind of cover first the high-level element of what do these user interfaces look like for users, and then begin to dig into how they actually use them. So what I've done here is I've actually, and let me go ahead and share my desktop. That's the key. All right. So what I've actually done is I've opened up an internet browser, and I'm going to give just a second for that to update for everyone. And you're going to see that I've got 3 tabs open. And interestingly, these 3 tabs are an example of how Pulse connects into 3 different systems. So the first tab is Pulse actually inside of SharePoint. This is something that we hadn't discussed before, but if you think about how most organizations today interact with each other, it's not just email, it's not just the phone, but it's quite often an intranet portal as well. And obviously, we're obviously a Microsoft partner, and for us, when we talk about best-of-breed enterprise portal collaboration, we're talking about Microsoft SharePoint. In the second tab, I actually have Dynamic CRM, and so what you're seeing is the actual Internet Explorer client for Dynamic CRM 2011. And in the third tab, I actually have pure Pulse, meaning Pulse as a pure user interface from the browser. Now, here's the exciting part of this. As a user, I can go into any of these 3 systems and interact with Pulse information, interact with customer information, and it almost becomes seamless to me. So one thing I want to make clear here is this isn't an alt tab, this isn't a swivel chair experience. The point here is that that information begins to coalesce together. And whether I'm on a mobile device or on the Internet Explorer, I'm in CRM, that information is a part of the experience of what I'm doing and allows me to do my job without thinking about what system I necessarily have to go in to get the information that I'm looking at. So I want to start with Pulse and talk about just from a pure user experience. If I'm not a CRM user, if I don't necessarily go into SharePoint, what is my experience like? Well, it begins with what we call your feed. And your feed is essentially the information that you're interested in your organization. So that's going to be people that you're following. That's going to be particular pages of conversations on various topics. That's going to be tags or phrases of information that you're looking for. So if, for example, you're an engineer, you're going to be interested in conversations that are going around engineering topics. And if you're a salesperson, you're going to be interested in conversations about your clients, as an example. And then one of the really exciting parts of Pulse is this systems capability, meaning the ability to integrate other systems in your organization into Pulse. And the best example that I can give you for that is the closing of an opportunity in CRM. Now, if you think about that today, when in a CRM system, a salesperson goes into their opportunity and it's this big moment that they're going to go ahead and mark that opportunity as either won or lost, what happens to that information? Well, typically, maybe they'll email that out and a few people know about it. With Pulse, using CRM as a system which is integrating information into Pulse, that now becomes part of an organizational discussion. So whether it was won and it's time to celebrate, and tell the salesperson what a great job they did, or opportunity was lost and it's time to perhaps have a discussion about what could we have done better, what were the reasons why we lost. And suddenly now, as an organization, we're socializing this topic of how do we improve the next time, or maybe even how do we reopen this opportunity. This is the exciting part of social collaboration that I think is just an indelible part of the value, not just in Pulse, but in social collaboration. And why people ask me, well, is social media in the enterprise really a valuable thing? Does it really make sense? And my answer is, think about what can happen with an opportunity, or think about what can happen when a customer says, I've got a problem. And that then is pulsed into a system like Pulse where it can be socialized. And that's just a few examples of the real powerful ways that Pulse can be used. But what you can see here is that I've got very quickly a very Facebook-esque interface in terms of all the different kinds of information and discussion and things that are happening in my organization. I'm able to quickly go in, look at what's going on, comment when I need to, and move off. The other important thing that you'll see here is that Pulse is actually going to tell me since the last time I logged on, what happened that I didn't know about. So it's going to say, here are your unread notifications. And one of the great things about Pulse is where people actually mention you. You can be emailed. So if there are things happening in Pulse that you want to be prompted more quickly than if you log into the system the next time, that can actually happen, and is an important part of the social fabric which Pulse provides. So if I take a look at Dynamics CRM, how then does Pulse integrate into CRM? Well, one of the first things that can happen is in Dynamics CRM, I can use the just incredible dashboarding capability that exists in CRM to provide users different focused views of Pulse with other information that's going on. So here, as a salesperson, you can see that I've got dashboards that include Pulse information from different elements of Pulse. For example, if I'm interested in going in and looking at the expertise section of Pulse, where questions around various technical areas are being answered by my subject matter experts, I can quickly go to that area and then comment and have discussions. And as a salesperson, as an example, I'm now able to collaborate with the people that are supporting my sales, whether it's engineers, whether it's product specialists, in a way that I haven't been able to do before in my CRM system. For those of you who don't have experience with Dynamics CRM and would like to know more information, I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing Dynamics CRM features. If you'd like to see a demonstration of CRM, if you'd like more information, really encourage you to email me and or contact Neudesic, and we will absolutely get you more information so that you can get a better sense of how Dynamics CRM can empower your organization. But the key thing that I wanted to show here was that from a dashboarding perspective, I can log into Pulse, and I can also come into Pulse as its own screen, so its own set of submenus. And even more important, if I actually go into an account, I can actually see the discussion that's happening around a specific account. And for example, I'm logging here into the Edward Life Sciences account, and I can actually see that Pulse and the Pulse discussion around this specific account is right here at my fingertips. Now, I could come at this information multiple ways. I could come at this from my Pulse client on my iPad. I could look at this on my CRM mobility client. It doesn't matter. This information is going to be connected in different places. And I'm easily able to access that information, which is key. And then the last thing I just want to show quickly, because we are running short on time and I do want to be able to take some questions and answers, is Pulse, now part of SharePoint. And this becomes an incredible advantage for many organizations because, in some ways, interestingly, internet portals can provide a great set of capabilities around document management, around collaboration on projects and customers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the social media fabric, the ability to have discussions that bring in questions and answers and other kinds of information can be greatly enhanced by integrating Pulse into SharePoint. And so as you can see here, this is an example of how we've been able to just very simply do this. And it's a very powerful capability. This, for example, is an example, what's called a My Site in SharePoint. It allows you to have that specific user focus, and what is that user saying is important to them from a portal perspective. And then the integration of Pulse provides a whole new capability in terms of enhancing that My Site capabilities. So I know we're running short on time, and that's probably because I talk a little bit too much. So I want to make sure that we have time for questions and answers. So I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any questions and answers right now.
Thanks, Jeff. And just as a reminder to everyone to ask a question, click on the Q&A verbiage located in the toolbar on the top left side of your screen. Type your question, then click the Ask button. One of the questions that came through was, I see how this works with one thread. Can you show how it works with multiple threads?
Absolutely. So if I come into, for example, my Pulse page, and I say, for example, hey, we're having trouble with enterprise life sciences. Oops. So let me take just a quick moment and talk about what we've just done there in terms of the multiple threads of conversation that are going to begin just with that. So first, I've used the pound sign there to mark that this conversation.
Anymore.
One second. In my defense, I don't do these demonstrations all that often. No, I'm kidding. So hopefully you can all see my screen now, and my comments just earlier make a little bit more sense. So what I wanted to do was, in answering that question, talk about how would I begin an actual thread of conversation, and how might that actually split out with other people participating. And so what you'll see here is, as a salesperson, I'm going to reach out and say, hey, I have an issue going on with enterprise life sciences, so that's a specific account. And then I'm mentioning my sales manager, Brett Fisher, so that he can actually be notified that he's been included in this thread of conversation and be mentioned. And so when I now share that, a couple of things are happening. So first, CRM is going to display this conversation inside of the Enterprise Life Sciences account. Brett is going to get that notification, and Brett can come back here and comment on that. So I'm not going to log in as Brett. I'm not going to take the time to do that, but let's just imagine that that's exactly what I did. And I would say, I see your trouble, and let's pull Jennifer in to help resolve. And so what Brett has now done is he's escalated this particular thread and included Jennifer in it, and she's going to come involved. And so from here, we can begin to have multiple conversations about this particular topic that begin to address the singular issue that we're trying to close this account, that we're trying to drive this opportunity and need to move it forward. All right, next questions?
Thanks, Jeff. That sounded very helpful. Another question that came through was, can I use Pulse to integrate with MS CRM for business portal users, such as the CRM connector?
Absolutely. And so one of the great elements of Pulse in integrating with Dynamic CRM is that it does have a single sign-on capability. Whether you're asking users, and let's say, for example, you've got users that are coming into a business portal that are partners, and for whatever reason you've decided not to give them an Active Directory account. Well, they can actually integrate in using a Windows Live ID as one means of authentication. That's obviously very common. And that's actually a very, very common scenario where we want to be able, from a portal perspective, where we're integrating not just employees but partners, potentially even customers, right? We want to bring them into one place. Typically that's going to be driven by SharePoint. One of the great things about SharePoint, obviously, is that it's able to pull in information from Dynamic CRM very easily. And then you could have an entire conversation which is being driven around information that's coming from Dynamic CRM. That conversation is being propelled by Pulse, and or rather it's being propelled by information that's coming from CRM, and then SharePoint is hosting that entire portal, allowing users to come in from outside, allowing employees to use it from the inside. So the answer is absolutely yes, and that's one of the kind of key scenarios that these tools really supports.
Great, thank you. If there are no further questions, I am going to go through a few quick polling questions, and we greatly appreciate your feedback. But if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in while we're going through these. The first question: was this content helpful for your business? Yes or no? Great, thank you everyone. Next question. Please rate the presentation content: excellent, good, or poor. All right, thank you so much. Last question. Would you like us to schedule a follow-up? Yes or no? Great, thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd like to thank Jeff again and Kathy for joining us today and presenting. We will be forwarding out a link to view the recording of this webcast once it becomes available. If you have any further questions about this presentation, please feel free to email Jeff. And Jeff, do you have a slide with your email address for everyone?
I don't. Unfortunately, I apologize, but my email address is jeff.bennett, 2 N's, 2 T's, @neudesic.com.
Thanks, Jeff. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webcast. You're now free to disconnect. Thank you.
Oh.
Sorry, was that you, Kathy?
Actually, we have a couple more slides. Jeff, if you can run through those quickly. We had our some sales offers that we were going to do for Pulse users. That's okay. We'll send out a follow-up email.